Good afternoon. We're doing this video today with the intention of giving you some information about the H-1B CAP registration process. As some of you might have heard, the Department of Immigration announced last week that they will start accepting H-1B registrations at the beginning of March. We hope that if you decide to do the registration on your own, the information we are going to provide here is going to be useful. My name is Angela Lopez, and I am an immigration attorney with Cowles Thompson.
And I'm Michelle Alonso, also an immigration attorney with Cowles Thompson. So the H-1B registration period, it's important to know that beginning March 1st at noon Eastern Standard Time is when electronic registration starts. It's when it begins. And that period is going to end at March 17th at noon Eastern Standard Time. Those are the windows and those are the times where you will have the start and the end of this registration period. However, it's important that employers or agents know that starting February 21st is when an H-1B registrant, employer or agent can create their account through the My USCIS online account. That is the registration account that you will have to create. You can enter that information beginning the 21st, and obviously you can enter it after, before March 1st, but you cannot input the specific beneficiary information or potential employee information until March 1st. The selection process will begin March 17th, as mentioned in the previous slide. Now, if there aren't enough registrations because they're under the cap that's been set, then everyone registered will be selected. That's not the case. Historically, we know that's not what's going to happen. So because more registrations are anticipated than the H-1B slots available, USCIS will randomly select registration as follows. Obviously, it's known as the H-1B lottery. And the way it goes, we'll go through the general pool first. So all registrations that are including bachelor's degrees, advanced degrees from American universities or colleges, all those will be in the first pool. Once all have been selected from the general pool, that's where you will be able to, if you have an advanced degree from a U.S. university or college, you will have your chance perhaps to be selected in the advanced degree pool. And then once all registration selections have been made, that's it. Now, notification is officially supposed to go out March 31st. It'll go out through and it will be notified through your My USCIS account. But as Angela and I have talked, we've had employers who got them a couple of days before the 31st. So it's very possible that that could happen.
If we go back a little bit in the last couple of years, you probably heard that in 2021, the Department of Immigration had to do 3 lotteries. One in March, which was the initial one, obviously. One in July, after the first period for filing H-1B ended, because they didn't receive all the petitions that they needed. And then the last one was in November of 2021. I can tell you that one of my clients got selected in the last lottery. We were so lucky. The reason for that is that the Department of Immigration did not calculate the numbers that they needed, numbers of registrations that they needed to meet the numerical allocations for the fiscal year for 2022. According to the law, the Department of Immigration must consider the account historical data related to approvals, denials, revocations, and other relevant factors to calculate the number of registrations needed to fulfill the numerical limitation. So if you follow the lottery, then you see this happening in the 2021 for the 2022 CAP year. But in 2022, meaning last year, we didn't have a second or never mind a third lottery. They did their job, they did their calculations according to the information they provided, and therefore they did receive enough registrations or accepted enough registrations so that they didn't have to run additional lotteries last year for this 2023 fiscal year. So we kind of anticipate that this year is going to be the same. I wouldn't keep my fingers crossed on a second lottery or on a third one. If it happens, but more than likely they'll follow the same procedure they did last year to avoid additional lotteries. Right here, you can see this is the website, myuscis.gov, where you can go to create your account. And it has a lot of information, some videos to explain how the registration is done, information needed, how to check on the status of the case after the registration is submitted and the lottery is done. So if, like we mentioned at the beginning, if you are doing this registration on your own, please make sure to go into this website early enough, maybe today if you need to get familiar with the process, with the website, how things are done, create your account as soon as possible and go from there. The information that you will need to create your account as the employer, or if you have an agent, is obviously company legal name. Make sure it's not the company name that you kind have in your mind and you remember. Go with your incorporation papers or the IRS letter giving you your federal identification number. If there's been change of name, make sure you get the last name, the legal name. And if there is a DBA, please use it. All of this information has to be accurate because you will have to use the same information when you file your H-1B visa application. You don't want to give information that later on you're going to realize it should have been different, because when you file that H-1B, if the information doesn't match, your H-1B is going to be rejected. Of course, who is going to sign the forms, name, title, and contact information. And for your beneficiary, which Michelle mentioned, you cannot complete his or her information until March 1st. You will need the legal name. For this, we always ask people, take a look at the passport. Gender, date of birth, country of citizenship, passport. Is the passport that you're going to be using when you file the H-1B petition that you need to be working with? And most importantly, the degree information. And Michelle mentioned that this is crucial. You start looking at the degree. If you need to do a credential evaluation, may not be an expense you want to do now, but please do it because it might save you a headache. When you're ready to file your H-1B petition, the person should have the degree that you listed and that registration, a bachelor's degree, or if it is an advanced degree, what type of degree, master, a PhD, or whatever degree from the university in the United States. That is key. Remember, if the person has a master but is not from the United States, then you're stuck with the bachelor's degree. So pay attention to those little details because that is information that most match whatever you put on your H-1B petition if you are selected in the lottery.
Now, the registration fee is exactly $10 per person per beneficiary, but you want to make sure that you have the appropriate method of payment. They will accept a withdrawal from a checking account or a debit or credit card. Make sure it's drawn on a U.S. bank, U.S. entity, and make sure that you have the sufficient funds and there's no cap limitations or credit card limitations on the card you're trying to use. There's a maximum of 250 beneficiaries per registration. So you'll see below a quick note, the U.S. Treasury Department has approved a temporary increase in the daily credit card transaction limit to allow for this. But even though they've done it on their part, we've seen employers that have gotten bogged down because the limits were placed on their own credit card or on their own debit account. So you want to make sure that you don't have all these registration beneficiaries ready to go, and then they don't get submitted because the method of payment was rejected. So you'll want to be mindful of that. And then once registration happens, so we get to the day and you log into your MyUSCIS account, what are you going to see? On the left hand, you'll see submitted. Those submitted mean that that's where we are. If you see you're bold and selected, then you've been selected in the lottery. That's great. On the right side of the screen, you'll see encircled where it says not selected. If you were not selected, it will remain as not selected until October 1st, until the fiscal year. At that point, you'll know whether or not you've been selected. As Angela mentioned, there may be a second round, there may be not, but those are going to be kind of what you can look for when you log into your MyUSCIS account to see if you were selected, if it still shows submitted, or if ultimately it was not selected.
5 tips that we have identified through our own experience doing H-1B CAP registrations for a successful registration. We've mentioned before, and we can emphasize enough all of these little items. One is, please, please, please verify the beneficiary or potential employee credentials. You want to make sure that employee has the degree that you're listing on their registration. Get copies of the diplomas, transcripts. If you need to do the credential evaluation, do it now before you start this process. It's long and costly, so you don't want to waste your resources not checking this minimum requirement, because this is the basis for the H-1B visa. If it is a U.S. higher degree, make sure you have copies of those degrees accredited by the U.S. University or college. Create your registration account on the first day, February 1st. You want to do that to make sure all the information that is required for the company is there, is complete, is accurate. There's no misspelling or numbers or any of those mistakes. And then on March 1st, I know some people might not be able to do it on the 1st, but we always like to get things done on the first date if possible to avoid any problems. Enter the beneficiary's information, including the type of degree the person has. This might be a good time to check on passports, because if the beneficiary passport is expired, you need a new passport. If you know you are entering the information with a passport that is about to expire, you might have a problem later on because you might be using a different passport than the one you're going to be submitting the petition with. Accuracy, review, revise, confirm. Have it before you submit that petition, go through the information, get the employee to, or the prospective employee to go through her information, make sure everything is accurate, because that's the basis for your H-1B visa petition, and you don't want the H-1B visa petition to be rejected because the registration was not properly done. And file the registration. Do not wait to the last day. Obviously, there are instances where you can file the petition as early as possible in the process. Well, you file it when you file it, but if possible, do not wait to the last 2 days or the last day. There might be glitches in the program. You might not be able to file your petition on time because the system got so busy that it might have frozen. So be careful there. Try to file it as soon as possible. And verify the method of payment. Michelle already talked about that, and we can emphasize that enough.
So just a quick recap, dates to remember. February 21st, employers, you can create your H-1B registrant accounts. We suggest that you do that on February 21st. Then make sure that's in order. Next dates to remember, which really is a window of time, March 1st, beginning at noon Eastern Standard Time to March 17th, noon Eastern Standard Time. That is the H-1B registration period. That is your window to be submitting the registrations regarding those specific beneficiaries. Then the next date we have to keep in mind, March 31st, selection. H-1B lottery selection results go out. April 1st, the very next day is when USCIS will start accepting those H-1B petitions that were selected for fiscal year 2024. And that window will begin and close on June 30th. Which is 90 days. That's the absolute deadline for accepting any of those H-1B petitions. So CAP subject, I can't stress it enough. It's down there bold in red. Employers, you need to file your H-1B petition if you're selected while the CAP window is open. So 4/1 to 6/30, that's the window. Mark these dates down, please, please, please.
Thank you. So if you get selected, we will have another video going out after the CAP, the registration closes. We're going to give you some tips about how to file an H-1B visa that is approvable. So for a successful H-1B visa petition filing, we'll get in touch again. You'll see our videos. Here is our information if you need information. If you like help or assistance with your H-1B CAP registration, please reach out. We'll be happy to help. But if you do it yourself, good luck. And again, if you're selected, we also are here to help. Thank you.